I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, August the 25th, 2015. Israeli authorities prevented a terror attack in the West Bank. A gag order was lifted today on the arrests of a terror cell plotting to attack Jewish visitors at Joseph's tomb near Nablus. Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, released a statement today saying they arrested 4 Palestinian terrorists, part of a cell that the Shin Bet says was armed and directed by the Gaza-based Islamic Jihad terror group. The trial of accused JCC shooter Frazier Glen Miller began yesterday in Olathe, Kansas. The 74-year-old former Grand Dragon of the Carolina Knights of the Ku Klux Klan faces a capital murder charge in the shooting deaths of 3 people last April. 69-year-old William Corporon and his 14-year-old grandson Reat Underwood outside the Jewish Community Center in Overland Park, Kansas, and 53-year-old Terry Lamano outside the Village Shalom Jewish Assisted Living Center nearby. Miller had stated that he went to the locations wanting to kill some Jews. None of the victims were Jewish. Reuters reports that Miller began his opening statements yesterday with an anti-Semitic rant, which the judge interrupted, excused the jury, and then told Miller that his ideas about Jews are not relevant at this point in the proceedings. Miller is defending himself in the case. If found guilty, he could face the death penalty. The Palestinian Authority and PLO were ordered to post a $10 million bond for their appeal in the case which ruled that they in fact supported terrorist attacks in Israel. Reuters reports that U.S. District Judge George Daniels said yesterday that the defendants also must deposit $1 million each month pending the appeal. A jury reached a verdict in the case back in February, if you recall, finding in favor of 10 American families of victims of terror in Israel that took place between 2002 and 2004, in the amount of $655 million under the U.S. Terrorism Act. The U.S. State Department had asked the court to carefully consider the amount of bond so as not to harm the ability of the Palestinian Authority to function, something they said could threaten stability in the region. Judge Daniels said he had given serious thought to the State Department's position in setting the lower bond. Lawyers for the victims had asked for a bond of $30 million a month as security until an appeal decision was made. Head of the Shurat Hadin Law Center, Nitzana Darshan-Leitner, who is representing some of the families, said the lower bond was a serious blow to the victims. The Israel on Campus Coalition, or ICC, released their Campus Trends report last week. It found that both pro- and anti-Israel activity at colleges here in the U.S. was up last year. The Washington, D.C.-based group, which monitors such activity on campuses, found that while there were more groups supporting the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement against Israel in the 2014-2015 academic year, there were also twice as many pro-Israel events that took place during that time. The ICC tracked 1,630 anti-Israel events at 181 colleges across the country, and 3,753 pro-Israel events at 213 schools. ICC Executive Director Jacob Boehm said pro-Israel students and campus leaders are rising to the growing threat of anti-Israel activity, adding that with the right support, pro-Israel students make a strong and compelling case that the U.S.-Israel alliance is based on shared values and serves both nations well. British Holocaust hero Sir Nicholas Winton will reportedly receive the honor so many wish to see. Winton organized the rescue of 669 children from Czechoslovakia just before the outbreak of World War II. A campaign to feature him on a postage stamp of Britain's Royal Mail began last month, backed by the Holocaust Educational Trust, the Association of Jewish Refugees, and former chair of the Holocaust Commission in the UK, Sir Mick Davis. It has garnered over 100,000 signatures, and the Royal Mail was cited as saying yesterday that it is their intention to issue the commemorative stamp in honor of the man known as the British Schindler. Winton died last month at the age of 106. Well, it looks like Israel's English-speaking radio station, The Voice of Israel, will be shutting its doors. The Jerusalem Post reports that this apparently is due to financial constraints. CEO of the station, Glen, told the Post he hoped there was still a chance to reopen in the future. JBS has been airing a Voice of Israel program live at 5 every Sunday, which our audience liked very much. JBS President Rabbi Mark S. Golub said he was saddened by the prospect of Voice of Israel's closing, adding, much of the fight for Israel's safety and survival today is taking place on the media battlefield. We at JBS were especially pleased to be able to bring Voice of Israel's programming to our American audience. I give everyone at Voice of Israel enormous credit for the service they were providing. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight, Tuesday, August the 25th. At 7:30, Chief Rabbi of Efrat Shlomo Riskin speaks about defending Israel and the Jewish people from the Lincoln Square Synagogue in New York City. At 8 o'clock, Senior Vice President of the Shalem Center, Dr. Daniel Gordis, talks about why Israel's survival is critical to the future of Jews everywhere. At 9 o'clock, Mark Golub sits down with World War II veteran and Israeli activist William Langfan on L'chaim. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Daily Forward, Jane Eisner, discusses her paper's feature story by Larry Kohler Esses, who recently visited Iran and spoke to people there about their attitudes towards Israel and the Iran nuclear deal on tonight's In the News with Mark S. Golub. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, August the 25th, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.